You can manipulate a situation by having the right friends. I would really turn around and say the nastiest things I could. He had organised to kill himself that night. Hi, I'm Rod. I'm from Brisbane and I've lived in Brisbane for 25 years now, and previously from a smaller country town. Well, it's not a country town anymore, a bit north, called Gympie. And I grew up there and I've had a pretty good life so far.
Tell me about realising you were gay.
Realising I was gay. I guess that's something that you don't realise until it starts to happen, because you just think that everyone else around you is the same as well. And it's not until you probably get to your adolescent years, or when you're high school, is when that kind of start to kind of kick in and you think about being gay. But then you sometimes, growing up in that smaller country community, you don't really think about it. You probably think you push that aside. That's a later thing. And it takes a while. I guess too, you when your friends have girlfriends and you don't really feel like you want to have a girlfriend, I think that's when that starts to kind of kick in. And then you get busy about life. I think I distracted myself with the antique world or playing tennis, and that was, just working in general too. I worked a lot when I was younger with my parents' business, and then also in at Coles. I worked at Coles for a very long time, and you just get distracted.
Did you bury it?
I don't know if I buried it. Yeah, I never really buried it, but then I wasn't a great big flamboyant. People might think I'm flamboyant, but I don't think I'm flamboyant. But I don't think you bury it. Yeah, some people can bury it, and some people are not able to bury it because they are really extremely gay, and gay from a very small age. I think people accept you when you're in a smaller community of just that, that's just Rod, or that's just Billy, or that's just Jemima, or whatever, that's just who they are. So it's not always about burying who you are or trying to hide. Some people do try to bury it, but it'll always come out. You can never escape who you are. Yeah.
So did it impact your life at school?
Not really. There was lots of bullying from people who didn't know me. I was lucky I came from a primary school, and especially in high school, we all moved over, which is pretty unheard of, where your whole class moves over to one high school. So there was probably about, I think, 35 or 40 of us went to one high school, which is pretty unusual. So they were just friends, and they just knew me for who I was. But then when you kind of mix the new kids in, there was a bit nastiness, but I was friends with everyone. I think that's not a secret to keeping that. It's not a lie, but a secret to keeping just on your wits is to be friends with everyone. And when you're friends with everyone, then everyone just accepts you for who you are. I did have more girls that were friends, but then I still were friends with the lads that I used to grow up with and play sport with. So yeah, it's a strange thing, high school, and trying to be not bullied too much, but if you're bullied, you'd go and tell your friends, and then we'd all go back and bully that person. So bullies do get bullied, and it's not just about being gay, but you can manipulate a situation by having the right friends and sticking up for you. I remember one time actually getting picked on by this one fellow, and he tripped me up pretty bad. So I ran up and I tripped him back, and then he got really angry with that, because bullies hate getting bullied back. And so I ran up to the back of the music block, and of course all my favourite friends were sitting on the big bleachers there, and one of them came out in my defence and started to actually physically bash this fellow up. And then the other girl came in, another friend came in, and she, long story short, now she's this great big butch lesbian, which is kind of funny because she really was, part of my defence team, I guess, for a while. We're not friends. High school ends and kind of you go your way. But it was kind of weird how you had friends there, and the other girl, she was Indigenous and she was lovely, but she had a big family, but she was a family of all boys, so she was used to being tough. I guess I've got a bit of a mouth on me too, so if someone has a go at me, I'll be nice to you, but then you cross that line to me and you'll get it. There's double barrels with me. So that was probably another thing too. I was always on defence, but I'm nice to you. But when those bullies were really being bullying, I would really turn around and try and say the nastiest things I could. and it worked. It worked because you had to deflect. And I guess that's a bit of a self-preservation thing, that you had to deflect yourself to protect yourself, but not just bullying for the gay, just being bullying because you were wearing the wrong fucking shoes or the wrong pants, or being friends with people who they shouldn't be friends with. Yeah, high school is bad enough back then. God knows how it would be now. I don't know how it would be now. Maybe it might be easier. Is it more accepting now to be different? I think it is. Yeah.
Maybe. Did any girls try to get close to you at school?
Couple.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some dating of girls, but nothing serious. And I think after leaving high school, I'm still friends with them after I left high school. They were still quite, understanding of my situation and that. So yeah, look, you're always going to be, nothing to me is nothing. There are some people who are really, really gay, and there's other people who sometimes gay come back to it. It's kind of, high school wasn't, I wasn't trying to hide myself by dating girls. Yeah, I guess mum and dad coming out, it wasn't always going to be great, especially for dad. A well-known person in where I grew up and that, but and he's been good. It's been taking a long time. Mum was really good. I think mum definitely got the brunt of dad's anger about it. I'd been with my partner for a whole year, and that was it. I thought, well, you can't. How much longer do you leave it for? So I drove up one day with my other best friend and did the deed, and the next day I went around the world for 6 weeks. I had no contact with them for 6 weeks to let it digest. And then I came back, and that was it. It was either they accept it or it wasn't going to. I wasn't going to be part of their lives. You can't hold your life for anyone. And if they want to be part of your life, and you got to let them be part of your life. That's another thing too. I think a lot of people then come out and then say, oh, I'm gay or whatever, and then they retract from their family, recall, well, no, I didn't do that. It was like you got me, and that's it. If you don't, then I'll move on without you. But I haven't had that experience. Unlike some friends who have had that experience, it's been they've had some pretty awful things happen to them. But I've been very lucky with that, and I think that just for me too, I've always been fairly out with everything. I don't keep too many secrets. You can talk to me on the street about anything, and I will tell you about anything. Like there's, like Judge Judy says, if you don't tell too many lies, you don't have to have a good memory, and that's a good, especially being gay as well. I think you don't need to tell a lie unless you really feel unsafe. I'm sure there's been other people will have to tell lies to guarantee their safety, but I haven't had to be one of those people. Yeah.
So what's it like living as an out gay man in Australia? Is there still discrimination? Do you come across it? What does life look like for you?
I guess that was really high. I guess now it's easy. I don't think it's as bad as what... It depends on who you have around you. And it does depend where you live. I'm sure country Queensland is still pretty hard to be gay. I think also in Australia there's some good laws to protect things. I think, look at what's happening in America at the moment. America's changing at fairly rapid pace, repealing, but that's probably for more trans, but it's still in the same kind of umbrella. I think being gay is you can have as much nastiness given to you if you're a straight man too. I think I think it's all just one-way traffic. I'm pretty lucky.
Describe the current gay men landscape in Australia from your perspective, and where do you fit into that?
Well, I'm old. At nearly 50, I'm old, and that is true. I think being gay is a bit of a youth thing, and kind of like, you look at me, all the festivals are pretty full on. If you wanted to, the gay scene is just like the straight scene. There's a lot of drugs involved if you want to do that, and all the other rest that goes with it. But that I've never been in that circle. I think the gay scene these days too, because I've been with my partner for such a long time, I don't really, I don't need to kind of mix in with all those social scenes that happen. I've become good friends with a few other guys for a long time. I've been long-time friends, and they're all decent people, and they've got decent jobs, and they're not fucked up. I've only been to Mardi Gras once, and that was a fun night where it was quite intimidating. There's such a lot of pressure for gay men to really have that six-pack ideal, and it's not until you're actually in it do you realise, shit, you've got to go to the gym so many days a week, and which I did for many times, and as hard as I did, I never was able to get that six-pack, maybe a four-pack, but it's a lot of work to go into those parties. They always say it's body positivity, but it's quite intimidating to go and see it. But I don't really identify as one of those Sydney gays. I'm still a country gay at heart, I guess. Yeah. When I came to Brisbane in my early 20s, there was a program called, I think, Step Out, I think it was, and where it was kind of like a mentoring, and so doctors would refer young gays to, I think, the Queensland AIDS Council were they didn't have AIDS. They were just a facilitator, because a lot of young people who were gay then would reach out to this organisation, and so then I was asked to be a convener and help organise social events for all these people, so that they would get referrals, and then myself and another person would go meet them one-on-one to reassure them, well, first of all, so they wouldn't fucking top themselves, because it would happen, and it still happened today. And so I'd go on and meet them, and then the next week there would be a social thing, was movies, or we'd go bowling, or they might go to dance, or meet at a coffee shop, and there'd probably a group of 10, 20 people. And so I did that for a couple of years. And I do remember one time there was a gentleman who I'd forgotten to go meet him, and he texted me, and I was like, it's 8 o'clock. I'm at the cafe. Where are you? And I was like, so I was close by. I was living in Newfoundland at the time. Ran down there and had a good chat to him for about a year. And he's become I don't know him anymore, but he had become quite a good lawyer. And but he'd sent me a letter quite a few years afterwards, saying thank you. He had organised to kill himself that night, and yes, and that, and I just think, what if I'd forgotten? What if I said, "Oh fuck it, I'm not going"? That would have been the end of that night. So, of all the good deeds I think I've done, that might be the best deed to save his life. I didn't save his life, but I think he just wanted connection with someone else who was gay, and he went to these communities for catch ups for a while. It all got too much for me because I realised that a lot of these young ones probably didn't need a social setting, which they did, but they really needed probably family love and a good psychologist. And so I remember going to there was a Three Monkeys cafe, very famous West End cafe. We sat at the back, and it was me and another convener, and one of them just started crying. And I said, "Oh God, okay, what's the drama?" And then the next one next to him started crying as well, and then it just kind of imploded. And after about 20 minutes of people just all sudden, it was like it just caught on. Like everyone was like really not crying, but very, very upset, and the whole night just ended up shit. And then I realised that was above my head. That was too much for me. So then I contacted the convener, the big convener inside, and at the Queensland AIDS Council, what do they call it? And said, I can't do this anymore. Thank you. And and I left it. That was my kind of my community service for a couple of years for the community. Yeah, nice. I think it would have been hard, but I think also you just have to move on. I think you families are there. They're going to be your biggest support in your life. Sometimes families can be the biggest pull down as well. Yeah, they can be something that can really bury you in life as well if you let them. I don't think I would have been letting them. Would I've been doing in the antique trade for nearly 20 years? Maybe, I don't know. I would like to think I would have. But you never know. It's a different door that's open, that stayed open. And but I think I don't for 1 second I don't think that they would not have accepted me. I just like to think that would never have happened, but it does happen, and to all the people that have happened to, well, I'm sure that their lives would have been much better if they've had their family to support them.
For sure. Talk to me more about the gay world. So what percentage of gay men have a partner and are faithful to them, and how many just are never? And describe the gay world here.
Oh, the gay world in Brisbane. I guess because I've been with my partner for such a long time, nearly 20 years, and we're close, we're an open relationship. Like a lot of gay men have a very open relationship. So it's hard to kind of me to say that, but I think there is a lot of open relationships. But I think it might be more in the gay community, but I think there's also a lot of open relationships in the straight community that no one talks about. It's a very strange thing. It's a bit of a double standard. But the gay community, even I sometimes think, oh, fuck's sake, you're too much. Dial it back. I do. Yeah. Can you just be a little bit more less fucked up? Because there are a lot of gay people here that I think are their own worst enemies, and they have to really take control of themselves. If you can't. It's hard to ask the community outside of the gay community to accept you if you're doing things that I think are a little bit self-harming. I'm sure it's great for a night or a week down there, but you ruin yourself on that. But I think mentally too, you can come away quite scarred. I think you can kind of come away thinking, oh, this is a normal thing. I've got to go out. I've got to have the six-pack. I've got to go and
wear gold line makeup.
Yeah, and that or too much sometimes. But I don't know. there is a path for some people that I can tread that path, but I think majority of gays, you know, you might tread that path for a little while, for a year or two, or maybe 5 years, but then you realise that, you know, you've got to get along with what life. You've got to go and get yourself a proper job, you know, your career, a house, you know, just a normal balanced life. You can't live that life forever.
What's the most unusual thing you've ever done in your life?
Oh, most unusual thing. That's a hard thing to ask, because maybe the most unusual thing is still to come. I think being an antique dealer is an unusual thing, and if you ask, you know, I'm lucky that I have a pretty big social. You know, both myself and my partner, we're very social people, and we know a lot of people. And you know, you go to parties and the people ask you what you do. And my partner's like a well-known optometrist, doctor in research. You know, I think what he does is pretty amazing. Goes around the world talking to all these people in conferences and that. You know, got a pretty big profile. But then I'll say, "Oh, what do you do?" And I'll say, "Oh, antique dealer," and it's like he doesn't exist. I don't know why, but because I just want to know. Oh, look about you. You know. When someone said, "Don't," you know, you might be living someone's dream, and I guess sometimes I do forget that I am living someone's dream.
Tell me a secret.
A secret? Oh. I was a very good tennis player when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I really thought, for once, delusionally, I thought that I was going to be able to be a professional tennis player. I was good, but I was never that good. Yeah, but you know, sport I think is a good thing for young people to get into. Yeah, it made me fit. It makes you able to work on schedules and discipline and focus, and it takes your mind off your troubles, I guess, too, as well, and it gives you a social circle. I say sport is something that maybe needs to be really pushed a bit more in the community by the government. And yeah, I'm sure, you know, I don't have kids, so I don't know what it's like down in that bottom end of what sport is like, you know, for if you've got kids. But as myself growing up, I think having access to sport was a pretty big thing. Important lessons. I think you got to treat people with respect. You know, and even if they are fucking assholes to you, you got to sit back. The older I get, the more I probably am a bit more tonguey to people, but I should dial that back a bit. You know, lessons in life sometimes are things that you happen to you when you don't expect them to happen. Because sometimes the lesson is something, because you might be just thinking, oh, you're a big world beater, and then, you know, your car will break down or whatever. You know, then you realise that you're just a normal person, because everything will happen to everyone eventually.
Talk to me about death. What's it going to look like?
Well, I hope that it's peaceful and not too short. You want to say goodbye. And all my stuff, like all my collections, we into one cabinet. And I really hope it's not through a fucking shark attack or something shitty like that. That would be a really crappy way to end your time on here. But who knows? No one knows how they're going out, do they? Yeah. I just hope that it will be a peaceful, organised exit. Yeah.